time for another fat installment of Magic Spoilers from Throne of Eldraine. Let's do this! Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to another Throne of Eldraine spoiler video. I'm going to try and cram some more cards into this video than I did in the previous one. We shall see how that works out, how it goes. Anyhow, I want to let you know, if you don't want to miss any of my videos or any of my live streams, hop into my Discord, make sure you hit that subscribbling button, and let us dive right in to the cards. Starting with Gluttonous Troll. So 1 green, 1 black, 2 colorless for a 3/3 troll with trample. When it enters the battlefield, you create a number of food tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. Sacrifice another non-land permanent. Gluttonous Troll gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, you may have noticed it talks about how you get tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. That's because this is one of the new Brawl cards. The artwork is a lot of fun. Obviously, when we're talking about fairy tales, where do trolls belong? Under bridges. Where is this troll? Clearly under a bridge. And you can see his gluttony portrayed in multiple ways. You can see that fat, distended belly that he's got there down there stuck between his legs. I think it's hilarious that I think he's supposed to be clutching a chicken and like opening his mouth like he's gonna eat the chicken whole, but it actually kind of just looks like he's got the top of a chicken on his thumb, like just a chicken from the neck up on his thumb, like he made himself a little like pet, like a little, just a little puppet. So when we break down the rest of the art, you've got another chicken that is fleeing from him. I gotta get out of here. It ate that guy. He ate my husband. He ate my husband, Cletus. Cletus is a chicken name, right? All right, so on the bridge, you can see that there is a blood smear. There's bones surrounding him as he has eaten, obviously, more than just chickens. The idea that he just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more bloated from the stuff that you feed him, that he shows up with a big trundle bus armful of food, is a lot of fun. And I really like the colors of the other direction when you're leaving the bridge. Like if you were to walk by him, which would be obviously unadvisable, but if you were to walk by him, the woods out beyond under the bridge actually look kind of inviting. I like the colors that are used here. But yeah, this is a pretty straightforward, I'm a giant troll who gets bigger and bigger by eating and lives under a bridge. It definitely feels very fantasy style. After that, we've got all that glitters. As the saying goes, all that glitters must be gold. 1 white, 1 colorless enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. And the art depicts a beautiful little fairy, a little sprite, sitting on an entire pile of treasure. Just a massive amount of gold. Honestly, that translates well with treasure tokens, if you were to think of like the Ixalan block and all the treasure tokens, or even Smothering Tithe from the newer set. Smothering Tithe would actually combine quite well with this enchantment. I mean, it's going to give you some decent bang for your buck. I like the fact that the enchantment counts itself as well. I like how straightforward, I like how well tied together this is. It's a very straightforward enchantment. Obviously, the more, and the idea of the more wealth you have, the more powerful you are, works too. So overall, not too shabby a card. After that, we've got another fairy. Obviously, the previous art just showed a fairy in it, but in this one, we actually have a fairy. This is the Animating Faerie. 1 blue, 2 colors for a 2/2 fairy. This one has flying. It also is one of those storybook cards, so it has the sorcery Bring to Life. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature, put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. So she will animate, in this, it looks like she's animating a doll, assembling the parts together to give it life and infusing it with magical energy. I kind of like this. This fairy looks rather beautiful. She doesn't really seem to have traditional fairy wings. It looks like she has a big blue gossamer cloak that allows her to fly. It actually looks like what's happened here is she has flown in through an open attic window and is animating an old discarded child's toy. That's kind of the vibe that I get from this. When you read the Throne of Eldraine book, you will find that in places like the castle that Rowan and Will Kenrith live in, they actually use magical wards on every door and window to ensure that Fae creatures cannot sneak in. You won't have fairies breaking in. They do still find a way in the story, but either way, this is very evocative. Honestly, I like the idea. It has a whimsical nature to it. Also, kind of it could lead to evil as well, right? You never know what kind of mischief the animated doll would get up to, but this is some sick flavor on this card. After that, we've got a punny name. We've got Belle of the Brawl instead of Belle of the Ball. 1 black, 2 colors for a 3/2 human knight with menace. Whenever Belle the Brawl attacks, other knights you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Now, this card to me doesn't represent any particular sort of fairy tale. It is just kind of a knight that is in the set to plump out the number of knights. This, in fact, might actually be something specifically designed for, I don't know, Brawl decks. This is most likely a Brawl deck exclusive. I don't know, because some of the images I'm using were actually lifted from Arena. So I feel like this is a Brawl card, but I'm not 100% because we can't see the collector number down there. And the Brawl decks don't only consist of cards that were specifically designed for Brawl. They do have some regular Throne of Eldraine cards in there. Now you can see this Belle just charging along on a Dark Charger with her cloak billowing up behind her. It's a nice scene of action. You can see the horse is either partially rearing up or it's just charging directly into battle. Could be one or the other. You can see her leaning forward in the saddle, kind of standing up, probably to get a good swing with the sword. Overall, not too shabby a card, but also not the most exciting. After that, we've got a Beefcake Fairy. This is Faerie Formation. In all honesty, this seems like a pretty decent card. 5/4 flyer, pay 1 blue and 3 colors, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying, and draw a card. That's some bang for your buck. It makes you think of Spectral Sailor as well from Core 2020. So we have an entire formation of fairies. So normally when you have a big creature, it's a big creature because you have one lumbering mass, like the Gluttonous Troll would be gigantic from eating a bunch of things. Whereas this is large based on sheer numbers. I don't actually know how many fairies are depicted in this artwork, but by my count, there are at least 10 shown here. The leader of it, well, I mean, I call her the leader, but really it's the one that's closest to us, and she's not even really at the front. So probably calling her the leader is not the best idea. The most prominent fairy is using a key that has been like resharpened into a blade. This is what these guys do. These fairies are fun. They feel fairy tale style because they use like pen nibs as sword tips and buttons as shields and stuff. And I adore that. I like that. I like the idea of fairies wearing little thimbles as war helmets and such. It really speaks to me. So overall, this is definitely a decent flyer for blue that lets you draw cards and grow your army at the same time. Not too shabby. Next up, we're going to look at one of those gorgeous alternate art editions from the Collector's Edition. And this is Foulmire Knight. This is a 1/1 zombie knight with death touch for 1 black mana. And it also has the sorcery side, which is Profane Insight. 1 black, 2 colors, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life. I really like the idea of Profane Insight. It's like you must do something unholy. Something must be sacrificed in a way, and you give of your own lifeblood to gain knowledge. And the artwork shows, honestly, what looks more like a skeleton to me, but I mean, I guess a zombie, skeleton, whatever. Zombie Knight is a fun concept. 1/1, I don't know, man. If you look at the weaponry, it looks like he's holding, or is that all jammed through him? Is that, no, he looks like he's got a big deadly like tree branch or some kind of crazy mace. I can't tell if that's intentionally designed, but you could actually see that a sword has been driven up into him, and it's got such a dark, gloomy feel. Imagine this coming trundling at you, lurching and jerking erratically as it moves towards you unceasingly. Man, this is some nice flavor. And I like the fact that each of the different colors has a border that's suited to it. So the green has like life-filled vines, and on this you have like what looks like black and Dead Vines. And that works very well on something like a Foulmire Knight. Oh god, the next card, Frogify. I love the flavor behind this card so much. 1 blue, 1 colorless enchantment. It's an enchant creature. The enchanted creature loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base toughness 1/1. And in brackets they say, loses all other card types and creature types. So it just becomes a frog. And the artwork's fantastic. You can see someone who was, for a moment ago, was a king or a prince. At this point, he's been turned into a frog, and his crown is being stolen from him. It's like, yeah, you're not gonna need this crown. It looks like, or is actually the crown just kind of falling? Hold on, is there a hand there, or is that just part of the feast on the table? Yeah, actually, never mind. Those are bones sticking up out of the meat. They have a really questionable look to them. Those look kind of wangish, you know? I gotta say, it kind of looks like 3 wangs. Anyhow, he's just been turned into a frog, and his crown is falling. So this is the moment where he's just been turned into a frog. He's leapt up onto the table. The crown has fallen from his head, and is still in the process of falling to the table. The table looks very inviting. I like the old school candles. You can see that this is a king, or at least a prince, who is doing quite well for themselves because they have a feast set out for them. And royalty getting turned into frogs is definitely a high-level fantasy trope, right? We all know the kiss a frog and turn it back into royalty. Kiss the frog, baby. Kiss the frog. Or maybe just those meat bones, if you know what I'm saying. Either way, fantastically flavorful card. After that, we've got Chittering Witch. 1 black, 3 colors. This could be the kind of witch, actually, who would frogify somebody. So, this is a 2/2 human warlock. Ooh, warlock? Wait a minute. I thought warlock... I'm a bit confused. I thought that witch was used to denote ladies, and warlock was used to denote men. So, it is a little bit confusing to me to have this as a witch who's not... What? Okay, anyways. I'm not going to get caught up on that. When Chittering Witch enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 black rat creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. Same as that troll. 1 black, 1 colorless, sacrifice a creature. Target creature gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. So this is... I picture this... Like, you look at her, she is bristling with rats. There are rats crawling all over her, probably hidden in those weird straw sort of bushy garment she's wearing. And I can literally picture her just hawking rats at people. That's how she gives them -2/-2. She's just throwing rats. If you've ever seen the old Simpsons episode where the crazy cat lady is just throwing cats, I picture her just whipping rats at people. Rat to the face, rat to the face, a rat-a-tat-tat to the face. I love it. I love it. This is a crazy bog witch. I absolutely adore it. After that, we've got Piper of the Swarm. So this would be the Pied Piper. 1 black, 1 colorless for a 1/3 human warlock. Rats you control have menace. 1 black, 1 colorless, tap it. Create a 1/1 black rat creature token. 2 black, 2 colorless. Sacrifice 3 rats. Gain control of target creature. Now this is juicy. Honestly, this guy is really solid. He's only 2 to put out. He makes your rats more difficult to block. He creates rats, and he gives you an outlet to turn those rats into powerful creatures as you take your opponent's stuff. And you can see there is a massive swarm of rats following behind him and also congregating ahead of him. I really like the glowing eyes of them, and the fact that his head is turned down and some of his garments are kind of raggedy while he's wandering through a mist-filled town, just piping up this massive swarm of rats, drawing them from all directions until he creates a completely unstoppable army. Very nice. The next card, Rankle, Master of Pranks. I don't know what sort of fairy tale this is supposed to represent, if it's supposed to represent a fairy tale in particular, but he clearly does have a fairy rogue feel to him. It's 2 black, 2 colors for a 3/3 flyer with haste. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, choose any number. So you can do any number of the following, which is just gross. Each player discards a card. Each player loses 1 life and draws a card. Each player sacrifices a creature. Now note, if you choose to do all these abilities, you do have to do them in the order they're listed. So you have to make your opponent discard before the card draw. You can't go, everybody discards a card after we all draw a card. You have to do them in the order that they are listed. Now, he feels really powerful. And see, this guy is a mythic rare, and the haste, I feel, is what puts him over the top. In terms of like fitting into a fairy tale world, totally. But this is the vicious side of things, where his pranks tend to be just awful. And I do like the fact that he's got a scepter, and the way he's leading, he's got like a scepter made out of a branch. He's got what looks like a crown made out of other branches. He's got these weird soulless eyes and very interesting wings. He cuts a very striking figure. He does kind of give you the feel of fairy nobility, but a vicious, vicious, mean-spirited variety. All right, so not too shabby. After that, we have Rosethorn Acolyte. This is another storybook spell. 1 green, 2 colors for a 2/3 elf druid that taps for a mana of any color. And the sorcery side is Seasonal Ritual. For 1 green, add 1 mana of any color. So in all honesty, the sorcery side of this card is terrible. It's terrible. I mean, you can use it as mana filtering, but it's not very good. I mean, you don't end up behind a mana, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. But the creature does end up getting exiled, and you can cast her afterwards. The artwork, I really enjoy. I like the fact that she is adept at summoning up roses, and you can see her in a broken down, dilapidated building that's been overrun by nature with all these vines. And this is obviously some old ruins that's mostly bereft of life. Even the vines look like there's not much life left in them. It looks like old dead wood. But the vibrancy of the roses that she's pulling into existence stand out so much. Those points of red really contrast against the muted tones of the vines and the building in the background. So a very flavorful concept of a druid that is regrowing roses, or not regrowing, but reclaiming spaces and filling them with roses. That's got some beauty to it, and roses show up a lot in fairy tales. Speaking of beautiful, oh my god, Shine Chaser. I love this artwork. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 colorless for a 1/1 flying vigilant fairy. Shine Chaser gets +1/+1 as long as you control an artifact. And it also gets +1/+1 as long as you control an enchantment. So this could actually be a 3/3 flying vigilance for 3 mana, which is fantastic. Now this fairy looks like a spirit child. She looks like a ghost. I love the variety of fairies that they have in Eldraine. I love it. And this one, like, she feels so tiny too, because look at the size of the key. Look at the size of the key that she's carrying that has been sharpened. The little part that gets inserted, I don't know what you call the tip of a key. Like, is it the teeth of a key? Is that what it is? Either way, they have been sharpened to a fine point, and that is her weaponry. But the idea of her being a shine chaser, where it's like, you know how there are magpies, there are birds that are attracted to shiny things? Well, this is the same kind of concept as a fairy. She's just an ephemeral, ghostly-looking little fairy that literally will just chase after bright, shiny objects. It's very whimsical, and I absolutely adore this artwork very much, my friends. The Circle of Loyalty is the next card we're going to discuss here. Now, this is a legendary artifact. 2 white, 4 colorless. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each knight you control. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. And for 1 white, 3 colors, tap it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. So this feels like a concept sort of leading into the Arthurian legends, where you've got King Arthur, you've got his round table, so you've got this circle that has to do with knights. Anytime you would put out something legendary, like a King Arthur style creature, you automatically get a knight. I like the fact that it's based on loyalty, and the knights of Eldraine have strict codes that they adhere to. I like the idea that as you acquire more knights, it's easier to create, like, basically the Circle of Loyalty is like almost a spiritual bond between all of these knights. And the art is fantastic. You can see the Circle of Loyalty is actually etched into the floor, I assume, of a palace. You can see a knight coming into existence with a glowing sword above his head. So I picture this circle of loyalty summoning up knights, and a blade appears above their head and they just kind of grasp it, like He-Man style. Dude, this is some sick flavor. This is some sick flavor. A very cool tribal knight style card. The next card we're going to talk about is cool in its own way because it brings something new to Magic. 1 red, 2 colorless for Slaying Fire. Slaying Fire deals 3 damage to any target. However, it has Adamant. And Adamant works in, it cares about the colors of mana that you've spent, specifically multiple of one particular color. So this spell, for example, says if at least 3 red mana was spent to cast this spell, it deals 4 damage instead. So in a straight red deck, this card becomes more powerful. You get 4 damage at instant speed to any target. And that's pretty potent, while also allowing this to be splashed into other decks if desired, but at a lesser strength level. The flavor text says, the purest virtue burns brighter than the sun and hotter than dragonfire. And that's pretty cool to see when you take a look at the artwork and see that this has to be some sort of knight battling a dragon, but she is driving a flaming spear into what looks like a red dragon, and red dragons are supposed to be fireproof. So the idea that the fire is so hot that, oh, you're a dragon, you're protected from dragonfire, well, guess what? My magic, my adamant magic is actually stronger than your draconic fire resistance. And that is epic. And this chick looks like a massive hero, just standing there, driving this blade down, driving the blade of her flaming spear down into the neck of a dragon that is shrieking, just shrieking out in pain as it's being destroyed. She's leapt up on its back. She's there between its wings, just driving the blade down. Now that is some knight bravery right there, my friends. Absolutely fantastic. After that, we've got Jack's Beanstalk Giant. 1 green and 6 colorless. It is a star or asterisk, depending on when you got into this. Beanstalk Giant's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And the other side of it, the sorcery side of this storybook creature, is Fertile Footsteps. 1 green, 2 colorless. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I like this. It has a Krosan Tusker kind of feel to it. I really liked Krosan Tusker back in the day. The fact that you can use it to tutor up lands early game, like basically you can play him early game to get the land, and then he just sits there over on the side waiting because he is, admittedly, very expensive. So this is the idea behind the whole Jack and the Beanstalk. This is a giant who's come down from the clouds. He's climbed down the beanstalk. He's incredibly nature aligned. As you can see, he almost looks like he's made out of vines. He also makes me think of the Jolly Green Giant. Ho, 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 Green Giant. You guys remember those commercials? Are you old like me? I like the fact that he literally has fertile footsteps, and where he steps, nature grows. And you can see that actually, if you look at the foot that is outstretched ahead of him and look below it, you can see magical growth energy that is all in a trail all the way back in the way he's been walking. And also, to a degree, it's leaking off of his hands. It is dripping off of his hand down onto the ground. This man is fertility incarnate in terms of nature. And that is enjoyable to me. I like it. I like the way the artwork looks. And I also like the perspective, which gives a good sense of scale for him. It does make him look huge. It makes it look like we're looking up at this massive lumbering giant, and each step he takes is shaking the earth, but also nature is growing up in his wake. I love it. Next up, we've got Venerable Knight. 1 white for a 2/1 human knight. When Venerable Knight goes to your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target knight you control. And the artwork depicts an old woman who is obviously an accomplished knight in this world, and she is kneeling, handing her blade over to who is supposed to be her replacement. This could be her granddaughter. This could be just someone that she's mentoring. But the contrast between the old noble knight, who is in full regalia, by the way. This knight is fully decked out, a long flowing white cloak, looks incredibly noble and knightly, extending hands, giving the sword to this youth who's dressed almost in like peasant-ish garb, or at least obviously in something that's not as decorated. And I love this. This is a very fantasy concept where you have like the elderly who are passing on, entrusting their power to a chosen one. It's like, you have the potential to be me. Here is my blade. Take my legacy with you. And the +1/+1 counter is perfectly represented by the, here you go, I bequeath you this blade. Carry my legacy forwards. Become a noble knight in my honor kind of thing. So that's dope. And it's kind of in this idyllic sort of land where it looks very calm. There's nothing really going on in the background. You've just got like, I'm not sure what exactly that white building behind them is. Is this like done in view of a city, or is this out in a field? Either way, it's got a peaceful, noble vibe to it, and I dig it. And the last card we're going to talk about is dripping with flavor, and I love this card. Witch's Oven. 1 colorless artifact. Tap it. Sacrifice a creature. Create a food token. If the sacrificed creature's toughness was 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens. Apparently I call those fokens. Create 2 fokens instead. It's really fokin' good. So, this is the oven that a witch would use to bake people into pies. So when you sack a creature, you're literally being the witch, cooking one of your creatures into a pie. And if the creature's toughness was 4 or greater, you get to make 2 pies, because there's enough there to make 2 pies. I love it. I love the flavor behind it. You literally get to cook your own dudes into pies. Or you could take control of your opponent's guys and bake them into pie. Act of treason, let me borrow that guy's son. Oops, I put him in the oven. I guess you're not getting him back. Love it. Absolutely love it. And the artwork with like a stone oven inside of like what is clearly a witch's hut, with you've got these different instruments behind it, and you can see that the witch's oven glows with an unearthly kind of sickly green light, which makes it just a little bit off-putting. I absolutely love it. I want to know what fuels a witch's oven. Do they use like regular wood? Is it wood that we only use stunted wood from like really cursed bogs or whatever? The flavor on the witch's oven is like bang on. And they could have easily just done it, sacrifice a creature, get a food token. But deciding, you know what, if it's a creature with 4 toughness or more, you can get 2 food tokens. And when you sack food tokens, you gain life. So you literally eat people. You're literally eating them. That's so awesome. I love it. What a great card to end off on. So my friends, that is this video of spoilers. I know this video has come out fairly late because I know I released it after my late live stream. I'm going to continue with these spoilers because I'm absolutely adoring Throne of Eldraine. I'm having a fantastic time with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, both for your thoughts and because if you leave comments, it actually helps my channel. YouTube views it more positively. If you want more of this goodness, feel free to hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing, because I got more fun lore and flavor content coming down the pike to shove in your face like a witch's pie. Like a witch's pie. So big shout out to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for supporting what I do here. It means a lot. And remember, my friends, together we are the 6th color of magic.